so much for taking the time to do this. You having a good day overall, though?
Yeah, it's pretty. I feel like Monday is always kind of a bit like not rough, but it's just like where you kind of like, oh, I need to like tie these ends together, and I need to finish this thing up, and like, it's Monday.
It's Mondays, famously, as Garfield said. How's everybody? How's everybody in the Cabal camp? Everybody doing well?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good. Like, we're just super excited to finally release the album, go on the Never Say Die tour. Just like a lot of cool stuff happening all the time. Like, so you kind of like, it's a lot of work, but in a really good way. So
it's nice to be busy after a couple of years and not really being able to. And as you said,
yes.
We're less than 2 weeks away from the release of the new album. I'm going to attempt to say this. It's Magno Interiitis. Is that correct?
I think it's Magno Interitus, but I don't know Latin. So I like the words and the meaning. So I picked that. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. So
we'll get there eventually. So you said excited about it, but where's your head at overall right now? Is there an anxiety to get it out because, this long build and the wait and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that like for me, it's always like, are people gonna like it? Are they gonna think it sucks? Are they like I feel like the response has been really good, but I always have this weird jittery feeling of being like, oh, it's the 2 years of hard work we just put in. It's like, are people gonna resonate with it, or are they gonna be like, nah, I like the old stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of waiting and seeing. But the reaction to the singles that have been released so far, that kind of gives you some idea, I think, as how the album
exactly
received. Everyone's been loving them. Massive amount of views and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm not that. I don't think I'll ever be able to release something without having a little bit of the like, oh, is people gonna like it jitters? But I'm fairly confident that people, like, if they liked us before, they're gonna like this as well. They're like, in my humble opinion, this is our best work so far. So
in 25 years time, 25 years of Cabal, you'll not care anymore. You won't care what anyone thinks at that stage.
No.
I agree with you. It's been on my play all day today, getting to know the album ahead of release. And yes, I concur with you. It is your best work to date.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy. One person convinced.
Well, take me back to the early days of the record's creation. Specifically, what your vision looked like, and was it quite clear what you wanted to do from the start?
I think like thematically, it's like I think once like we got hit with the pandemic, I was like, oh, I kind of know where we're going with this shit. Like, I usually write to kind of like events and I write about stuff I don't like, and like just things that it's kind of like my way of coping and venting. So that's why it's primarily like negative stuff I write about, because that's what I need to get out of my system. If I'm feeling happy, I don't really have anything to write about in like in a Cabal sense, at least. And there was a lot of unhappiness during fucking that pandemic. We lost like so many shows. We couldn't get any like government, what's it called, like they wouldn't recoup anything because the shows were just moved. So like, yeah, but we still had like, there's still a year and a half where we couldn't play. Like, I know the show's been moved, but we still lost all the money. We was like, so that was shit. And also releasing our second album just into kind of nothing, because we released it right at the beginning of the pandemic, and we worked so fucking hard on that album as well. So that was also like a mental gut punch. So it kind of like Magno Interiitis translates into like the Great Decay, and I feel like on every level, like on a personal level, on the level with the band, and on a society level, it felt like everything was fucking falling apart around us. So that was kind of like the idea for like the lyrical themes of the album. And for like the visual side, we watched Midsummer, and everybody was like, there it is. Because we kind of like, we did the whole like kind of Scandinavian, like black metal inspired aesthetic for like the first EP and 2 albums. And we're like, we want to keep like the Scandinavian like roots in it, but we kind of like want to kind of evolve on it. And then we saw Midsummer, and it was like, oh, there it is. That's what we're gonna do. Like,
Incredible. I wonder how many people will pick up on that inspiration. It's put a big smile on my face. So would you say this album might not exist if you hadn't been in the position you were following Drag Me Down, and of course the cancellation or delay of so many shows? Or is that impossible to know?
Come again?
Is it just impossible to know if this album would have existed?
Yeah, I think there would have been some stuff, like I feel like we would have written a like very negative and angry album regardless, because that's kind of like what Cabal is in my eyes. But I think a lot of also the way we kind of put like the kind of pictures I like tried to paint probably wouldn't have been written in that way, if it makes sense. Like I think like the pandemic was like a direct influence in the way we like, or at least I wrote all the lyrics.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's such a significant event that we, fingers crossed, never have to experience in our lifetimes again.
I would love not to experience that again.
Yeah, for sure. Considering then the pandemic hit and you're focusing on that and you're working your way through music and you're forced to do it in a uniquely different way than you've ever done before. Was there anything in particular or things that directed the direction you went in that kind of changed perhaps what you may have planned to do for the better or worse?
I feel like in regards to songwriting, nothing really changed for us, because we've always like, we're so fortunate that Chris, who is our main songwriter, he's a full-time producer. He has his own studio. His life is making metal music and producing that. And we've always had the process where he'll write like an instrumental demo. He'll send it to us, and we'll give him feedback. And once that's done, I'll write some lyrics, and at the vocal parts, we'll record that, send it to the guys, and they'll like give us feedback. And once we like everybody's happy, we have a song. Like, so that's how it's always been, and we just kind of like that fit very well into the whole not being able to meet up physically anyways. But we could really feel it on some of our videos. We wanted to do like bigger and wilder things, but due to COVID, we couldn't really like have very many people on set. So a lot of it, like the Magna and Territus video and the Exit video, is just shot in our rehearsal room that we kind of like just repurposed and for that. So we kind of had to get really creative and be like, okay, we can't do any of the things we kind of wanted to do. Like, how do we do this? Like, on a what smaller like scale?
Yeah, you're making the best of the situation. I mean, think back to 2 years ago and the early days, and every band artist was trying to work out how to do something online. And what started off as a guitar and a Facebook Live turned into full-blown production shows. Yeah, the adaptation was incredible.
Yeah, we did a few of those where we just like played some streaming festivals and stuff like that.
Fun.
And it was kind of cool, but at the same time, it was also a bit lackluster, because I feel like at least for us, for like our live show to reach like 100%, like its peak, we need the crowd interaction. And like, so just playing into like a room with guys with cameras, just like, it was a little bit like, not really like what we like to do, but it was better than nothing.
Yeah, I guess better than nothing. You are right. I picture you playing live, and I know it's about feeding off the energy of the crowd as much. It's a symbiotic relationship between crowd and band. So
exactly.
I'm glad you're playing live now.
Yeah, so are we.
So the translation, the Great Decay, you already mentioned. What does that specific sort of term mean to you?
I feel like it might just be me becoming like more old, like becoming older and more jaded. But I kind of feel like the world is like, for the way I view it, we're not on the up and up anymore. We're like going in the wrong fucking direction. We're like World War II, like 3 is kind of looming. We have like a shortage of supplies. The planet is dying. Nobody seems to really give a fuck. Like, and like, there's so much horrible shit going on that like I don't think it's been this bad in the last like since World War II almost, like at least not in the Western world. And then it's like talking about all the fucking shit that's going on in all the parts of the world that we don't get told about in our media. That's like suffering way worse than any of us due to our actions as well. So I feel like it's just like this feeling of everything like going the wrong way. It's like my generation is also like, I like to read some articles by people who are way smarter than me, who do some research. And we're like, financially and socially, we're like one of the first generations who are like actually worse off than our parents. Like getting a fucking loan for a house, like forget it. And like, you're not like inflation, we're not getting paid anymore. And like, so all of these things, like we're generation's fucked. Like,
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's it can be an incredibly depressing and hard area to spend your mind in, which brings me to then, when it comes to you vocalizing and you expressing these themes and subjects that you want to, what was the most challenging part for you on this new album?
How so?
So when it came to kind of expressing all these thoughts and feelings you have about what you're seeing around you and narrowing that down into the format that is the album, the songs, what was the most challenging part of that?
Kind of like maybe not repeating myself too much.
Okay.
Because like a lot of it is kind of like centered around this, and then I try to kind of like be like, this is about how humanity sucks, but in this direction. This is about how humanity sucks, but in this direction. And like, and I even do like there's a cheeky little reference to it, and like in the song called Plague Bringer, last song, where I sing like, I said it before and I'll say it again, this is the end. Just because I know I'm fucking going on and on about this shit. So
here's the thing, like normally I would think, okay, this expression and what you've expelled here is cathartic because, hey, you've managed to get it out of your system. But ultimately, as you said yourself, the world as we know continues to decline. So is it as cathartic as it should have been, e.g. you were able to express it and then look away?
Yeah, the thing is, I don't really think there's any looking away anymore. I felt like back in the day when I was young and optimistic and I still had a glimmer of hope in my eyes, well, it would work the way that you described. I would write the song and be like, I'm so fucking mad about this, we'll play it. I'm like, I feel good now.
Yep.
And now I get a sense of that. I feel like just my body being tired after a show, be like, oh, I feel like all the endorphins are hitting me. But I don't ever really like these days, like there's always this fucking sense of dread looming in the back of my head. And it might also just be me who's an anxious, weird person, but
no, I think it comes across strongly in the album as well. But I think it's important for people, particularly when they're going to connect to it, to understand that your mindset and what they're hearing from not just the voice, but also the instruments, isn't pretend. It isn't you just playing around for a period of time and no, actually, we're really happy with the state of the world. It is.
No,
wow.
We mean it. Like, unfortunately, I wish I was just playing pretend, because that'd be way better, and I'd probably be happier as a person. But
yeah, you wish you could do songs about rainbows and sunshine and all that, but it isn't the case, unfortunately.
No, exactly. Yeah. I also feel like that would be a weird fit for Cabal, like the music.
Across the album, there are a number of impressive guests in the album. Now, I'm not going to ask you who your favorite was to work with, because that's crazy talk. There are impressive guests, but rather I'm wondering who challenged you? Who challenged the Cabal narrative with their collaboration that made you go, okay, this is going to force us to work a little bit harder too?
I think it was definitely like the feature we had with John Connor, like the producer duo, because like it's also very different than like normally a feature would be somebody from the band, like the vocalist, coming in and doing like a vocal part that I would have pre-written and I've written the vocals for, and like that's how we usually do it. I'll send it to him, be like, this is how I've recorded it, this is the lyrics, if you want to change anything, it's cool, like, but you can also just do it as is. But with John Connor, it's like they added an like entire different like part to the middle of the song, and all of these like some different ambience from what we use, and it also opened up for me to try out new things, and like I thought it was so cool, kind of being like pushed to try out new stuff and see like where our sound can kind of like take us.
I felt like that was going to be the one you were going to say. It's certainly, it's such a unique proposition on an album filled with unique propositions. Is there a track on the new album that hasn't been released yet that you're most intrigued and excited to hear people's feedback for?
I think it's probably that track because it's so different from what we usually do. Like I'm excited. There's also like the opening track, If I Hang, Let Me Swing, because I feel like that's also kind of different. Like it's chucky, but we have like this small like carried by some like lighter chords. So I'm kind of like excited, and this up tempo. So I'm also kind of excited to see like what are people gonna think about this one? I'm excited to like just to see what people think about all of the tracks, but like mostly the tracks that kind of like diverge from what we usually do.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people note that while this is utterly and very recognizable this is also evolution. This is you growing as musicians, and this is trying new stuff. I think that's going to probably be the most fascinating responses that you're going to find to it, is those people pulling the layers apart, as it were.
Yeah.
With that in mind, then, are you the kind of person who trolls the messages, the social media, the comment section to find out what people are thinking, or are you happy enough to stay away from that and just let it come to you?
I usually read all the reviews and read people's like comments because I come from a background in doing digital marketing, so I know like how important it is to have like I almost want to call comments like customer reviews. Like if everybody like it's this balance of like if we want to do something, we're gonna do it regardless of people like it. I think because so far we haven't like really been hit with like, oh, you fucking sold out, you like what blah blah blah, whatever people want to say. But if we do something and everybody fucking hates it, that might be something we need to consider. So I feel like it is some valuable like information to go through that. Like just sometimes people have some really good points. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't really think about that. That's actually a really good idea. Like,
but as a person fully aware of the digital marketing side of things, you must realize it's also an incredible drag, and it can be difficult to get your head out of the negativity that sometimes exists online. How do you balance that part of it?
I'm not that affected by like negativity. Like the thing is, I don't know if I'm gonna come off as sounding super arrogant, but so far we haven't had anybody whose opinion I value highly or like really respect say anything negative about us. Like most of like our peers, like the response we get is really, really good. And the people who like tell us that we suck and like, I don't know, tell me like come with condescending remarks about how I look or something like that. There's like some fucking weird cellar dweller in the mom's basement. Like, why should your opinion matter? But if we like put it out and like some of our heroes were like, this fucking sucks, and like we might be like, oh, okay, we maybe need to reconsider what we're doing right now.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. But the most important thing here is there is very little negativity coming from people's voices, be them tones or anyone. And over a short amount of time, because Cabal's only been alive, as it were, as a band for a short amount of time, you've made a hell of a name for yourself.
We're trying.
Yeah. What is it then, from your perspective, that you think means so many people are connecting to you?
I think that especially from like what I've noticed, like at least lyrically from like Drag Me Down, like that was like the EP and the first record were like most like loosely conceptual. It was like it had like overarching themes and like stuff like that, but it was mostly like written about like this difficult trying to like get the world to end. So a lot of it was like just this made up pretend world. I thought it was really cool, but then from Drag Me Down and onwards, I started like actually writing about personal shit, and there's been a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, yeah, I feel this way too. It helps like knowing that somebody else feels this way. So I feel like, yeah, that's been very significant. Yeah.
The connection on an emotional level.
Yeah. And also when we play live, we also try to like really give it all. I'll be like jumping into the crowd, and like we have Christian, one of our guitarists, he's fucking always spinning around himself doing like circle headbangs, and like that's also why we like to do really short sets when we can. Like usually my preferred set length is like 30 minutes, because then we could just go in and just like, it can be like this non-stop barrage of energy, and then we stop before it gets boring and before we tire ourselves out.
Yeah, 30 minutes of chaos instead of an hour and a half of slow peaks and valleys, because you've got to pace yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm grueling the day where we have to play an hour and a half.
It's kind of
I don't know. I don't hope so. Like we're kind of like the band. Every time we get like an hour slot, we're like, is it fine if we play 40 minutes? And most of the festivals and venues be like, yes, but don't you want the full time? No, it's good. 40 is fine.
It's that, and it's a rare thing. Normally bands are asking for more time, but you're asking for less. I'm a bit puzzled by it.
Exactly. But it's just like, we know also with the kind of music we aren't without self-reflection. So we know a lot of our stuff is like chucky mosh pit music. And the gimmick of that, for like an hour, it kind of wears off. Like at some point you have like a really solid back catalog with like fan favorites, and then you can do that within our genre. But for most bands within our genre, kind of like the magic kind of goes off after like 40 plus minutes. Then it's like, oh, another breakdown. What a surprise.
No, I understand that completely. But anyone ever talks about your live shows, it always comes away, again, just like the music, incredibly satisfied, incredibly excitable as well. Very sweaty.
I'm happy to hear that.
So, I mean, I guess the plan really is get the album out, and then throughout 2023, just tour the hell out of this record to make up for what you couldn't do last time.
Exactly. We're going to try to tour as much as possible. I don't know when this is going to be public, but we're doing like Dying Fetus is doing an album release tour in the beginning of 2023, which we're on. And we're trying to go back to the States. Hopefully we have some things we've been pitched for. Hopefully we get that. We might do a headline tour next autumn. And like we have some festivals lined up. We just basically, like, the plan is like, let's see if we can tour like half a year out of the year.
Yeah, because I mean, you weren't able to so long, and although we're like, oh, everything's okay now, right? You never know what's around the corner.
No, exactly. So we need to. That's also the thing. Like we're behind on the way I view it. We're behind on touring because we were supposed, like, on the first record we didn't really tour that much. We didn't have like the right setup, the right bookers. Like we're trying to figure out all that stuff while we went along as well. And then like things started clear. Like just before like Direct Down, we got an American booker. We did our first US run. We went to Japan, and it was like, oh shit, it's happening. We have some cool European tours lined up. It was like, oh, it's happening now. We got it. Like now we can just go all in. And then COVID happened. That means like we were like 2 albums behind on touring, so we're just gonna like double down and tour as much as humanly possible, I think. Yeah,
it makes sense. Is you basically lost 2 years of your band life.
Yeah, exactly.
I got one more for you, Andreas, before I let you go, and it's it's spooky season. It's October, which is of course Halloween month. So I simply want to ask you, considering that's a major part of what we do on our website, what is Andreas's perfect Halloween night?
It'd be like smoking a joint and hanging out with some friends, and then watch some horror movies. I am big into horror, which you might see like in our like music videos. There's like parallels between horror and that.
Of course, absolutely. What's the go-to horrors then for you at Halloween? Is there anything specific, or do you hunt out new and fresh stuff?
I try to hunt out new and fresh stuff, but there's also like some movies that I kind of like going back to. I'm the kind of guy, if I find a movie I really like, I have some like a certain like a couple of friends are like, we need to watch this together because this is fucking sick. And like
well, I have to follow that up then with what's a great modern horror that you've seen that you kind of just want to tell people to go see.
I think this is from the 2010s. It's a South Korean one called I Saw the Devil. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah.
It's intense. Yeah, it's so good. I think I've watched it at least 10 times. Like,
I'm
so into that movie. It's like, I like how the morality is gray and there's like no black and whites, and like how it just progresses, and like your protagonist kind of becomes a monster himself, and all of like, it's so good, and like the gore is so well done. Like,
Yeah, I really, really liked it. Are you have much interest in the new Halloween film that's coming out soon, and Hellraiser, the new one that's just come out, and so on?
I just saw the new Hellraiser movie. That was actually really good. I feel like it's not like I wasn't like blown away, but it's like the best Hellraiser movie that's come out since like the second one, I think.
Well, I mean that's all that matters. If a good Hellraiser movie is better than another bad Hellraiser movie.
There's been so many bad Hellraiser movies. I don't like. You can really feel that they were doing this thing where they just are like, oh, we need to make a movie before the rights run out. There's this script that hasn't. Can we just mash Pinhead into it? Yeah, let's do that.
It makes for some incredible, incredible watching at least, just to see the level of crap that exists.
Exactly. But now they got the guy called Jerry, what's it called? I think it's called Jerry Bruckheimer.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
He's the guy who made The Ritual, if you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
We used to refer to that one as Cabal, the movie, because like for our first album, we were doing, there was like little shots in that movie that we did on our music video. And we shot them before that came out. We were like, what the fuck? And like the whole thing having this northern entity that people were sacrificing people to, was like, that's what we're writing about. Like,
I'm gonna have to go rewatch the movie to see how well that matches up.
Watch the videos for like false light and stuff, and you'll see like there's like just this thing with like a camera like gaining focus onto like a rune etched into a tree. Is like, oh, they did that in the movie, we did that in the video.
They copied you. What the hell?
Yeah, but the video wasn't even out yet, so
but still. All right, Andreas, we got to stop there because we're running out of time, and I feel like we could probably continue talking about horror for the next.
Yeah, dude, don't get me started on horror movies. I'll just go full on like artist mode on you and talk. Yeah.
New album. It's the 14th of October, so it's not too long. No, it's not. That's the wrong date. It's the 21st of October.
Exactly.
21st of October via Nuclear Blast. Andreas, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, man. Have a good one.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?